yours on your screen?
No, it's right.
Oh, okay. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another Glew University. We are going to get started here in just a couple of seconds, probably like 30 seconds or so, as people are filtering in. If you want to say hello, please do. We'd like to know who's in the webinar today. It looks like there's quite a few people. So yeah, if you want to say, hey, who you are, if you're with a store, let us know. Maybe we'll go shop there afterwards. Or, you know, if you guys want to sit and be quiet. Hey, Sharon. Woohoo, first one, breaking the ice. Well, I am Christian and I do not own a e-commerce store, so.
Hello.
Hey, Deborah. Hey, Tate. Hey, Jeremy. Awesome.
I'm excited for this one because I always say when people ask about segments, I'm like, well, it could take me 2 hours. Do you have 2 hours right now to go through everything or not? So we'll see how much we can get through in 30 minutes today.
Yeah, they are far and wide and very, there's a lot of them. So yeah, yeah, we'll try to keep it pretty brief today. But all right, awesome. It looks like we are about at the number of people who signed up. So let's go ahead and get started. So we are going to sadly hide our cameras here, and I will share my screen. We will go through some fun stuff with customer segments.
Let's do it.
And let me make sure I can hide my camera. Okay, cool. And always forget to do slideshow. Okay, awesome. So for this week's Glew University, we are covering customer segments. So customer segments are obviously, there's a ton to talk about within customer segments. We know customers are extremely important to all of our businesses. So we're going to talk a little bit about how to use Glew to enhance customer segments, do some analysis, and kind of dig deep into that. So your host today, it's me, Christian, the head of client success here at Glew. If you attend these, you're probably pretty familiar with me. But Lindsay is a new guest this week. So Lindsay, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lindsay. I think Haley, I worked with your team. I'm one of our EVPs of sales here, coming up on 5 years at Glew, which is crazy. Time flies when you're having fun doing custom segments, but really excited to have you. And we will be recording this video. I think someone just asked that, but confirm that you guys can also see our screen before we get started.
Yeah, absolutely. So we definitely will record this. We'll also send out the slides and then a brief survey. So if you don't mind filling out the survey, letting us know how we did. And if you have any topics or things you'd like to discuss with us, please let us know because we can definitely do another one on that topic. Cool. So let's talk about what we're going to cover today. So we are going to talk about customer segmentation in Glew and which customer segments you should be looking at. We'll also talk about how to create custom segments. We'll talk about how to use segmentation for marketing. So this means, you know, doing automatic segment syncs with Mailchimp and Klaviyo. And also we do have list track as well. And then we'll talk a little bit about how customer segmentation provides insights about your customers, things like their buying behavior, their demographics, and things that can help you drive growth from that customer data. Cool. So what is customer segmentation? So customer segmentation enables you to group together customers who have similar characteristics into a customer segment. So, you know, you can think about any identifying criteria, whether it's, you know, when somebody came to your store, where they're located, you know, what brought them to your store, how many times they've ordered, their value to you. There's a lot of different things that you can slice and dice, and we'll talk a lot about that, those different categories today. So with over 180 data sources in Glew, we have over 100 filters, operators, and values to build customer segments. So while there are 31 predefined segments in Glew Pro, so predefined is going to be segments that Glew has built before on your behalf. Basically, we took the work out of it for you. And these are segments that we find very valuable and that all e-commerce businesses should use. You can also build out unlimited customer segments as well, or sorry, custom segments, custom customer segments. And you can use over 100 different filter options here. So while we do give you 31 predefined, there's kind of endless options when it comes to building out different customer segments. This gives you the instant power to have segments that are as broad or narrow as you need. So enough talking about customer segments. Actually show you some of them here in Glew. So when you jump into your Glew account to find all of these different custom or predefined segments, where you're going to go is you're going to go to customers and you're going to go down to segments. When you click into that segment, you're going to be able to see it's going to typically default to predefined segments. Again, these are going to be segments, customer cohorts that Glew thinks is very valuable. So I highly recommend taking a look at all of these. And in the list view, what we're looking at right now is going to be a description of this. So it's going to tell you exactly what you're looking at. The next section here will be the table view. So you can actually look at whether it's predefined or custom, and you actually see some top line KPIs for each of those groups. It may be a little small to see here, so I'll just quickly name what they are. So for an example, let's say you are looking at your predefined segments. Now you can see within each of those in a tabled format, you can see the number of customers. You can see the number of orders. You can see revenue. Some really other very popular metrics is AOV, which is average order value. You can also see margin, which takes into profitability. You can see profit, and then you can see lifetime value, which is a very, very popular one. We'll talk a little bit about different ways to use LTV and segments and things like that later. But if you want to sort or look at these in a tabled format here in Glew, you can do that right in, again, customers, segments, and then you can click between predefined and custom views. Cool. So let's talk about segments that we should use here at Glew. So we're going to go into some specific segments, and we're going to talk about how to actually take action with those. So the first one we're going to look at is lapse point segments. So what does that mean? So the first thing we want to do is identify what lapse point is, where to find it, and how to use it. So lapse point you'll actually find in your store. If you go to store settings in Glew, in the second box, you're going to see revenue preferences and you're going to see lapse point. If you click into that, what you'll notice is there's two options. There's going to be suggested lapse point and then current. Suggested is going to be the lapse point that Glew is calculating on your behalf. So every single merchant is going to have a different lapse point, and it's unique to your store. So typically won't be the same as anybody else. You could also change your lapse point. Once I explain what lapse point is, that you may understand why you'd want to do that. But basically what a lapse point is, it's the amount of time in days that a merchant or store has to upsell its customer before that customer is most likely not going to purchase again. So the calculation itself focuses on customers with amount of orders greater than one and takes the average distance between each purchase for each unique customer in order to provide this dynamic, actionable, and dependable upsell window. So why is lapse point important? Well, it's very important because timing is so important in e-commerce, right? It's multi-channel. So do you want to be too late? A competitor will swoop in and take your customer rate. Do you want to be too early? You'll annoy a customer and they'll unsubscribe. So again, lapse point, the focus is here is this is the amount of time I have to upsell a customer before the chance of them, again, buying become very, very low. Again, we're going to tell you what your lapse point is. If for any reason you'd like to alter it, you can do that in current lapse point in store settings. So like, let's say we say yours is 100. You say, hey, no, Christian, I know that I have, 200 days to upsell a customer. You're wrong. You can certainly change it. It's totally up to you.
We see that a lot too with like higher average order value brands, or say you're just getting started, you don't have a ton of repeat purchase behavior yet. A lot of your customers have only bought once. Your lapse point's likely going to be very short. So just know that there's reasons to change it, but Glew will always be tracking it and tell you what that suggested one is, so you can refer to it at any point. Yeah,
exactly. That is definitely a good reason. If you're in a store for 2 months, your probably lapse point's going to look pretty wimpy. So definitely boost it up. All right, cool. So let's talk a little bit about the different statuses within a lapse point. So lapse point is actually broken out into 3 statuses. There's the active, the at risk, and the lost. So let's use a clothing company who has a lapse point of 85 days. So what does that actually mean for each of these sections or statuses? So active is going to be less than 80% of the way through their lapse point. So basically they bought 68 or less days ago. So in really simple terms, this is going to be basically day 1 to 68 since my last purchase, right? I'm still an active customer in that view. At risk is going to be over 80% of the way through lapse points. This is going to be days 69 through 85 since that last purchase, right? And then loss is going to be over the lapse points. That's going to be 85 days and beyond. So the key here is, if you think about it, active is going to be very close to that most recent purchase, whereas loss is going to be beyond that most recent purchase. So what we want to typically do here is we're going to have 3 separate actions for each of these statuses. So for active, when you go into Glew, you're going to pull up your active customers. Active customers are very close to their most recent purchase. And what we want to do in this section is we want to be providing value. So you definitely want to be syncing your active customers to Klaviyo or Mailchimp or ListTrack and be having very consistent communication with your active customers. And what I mean by consistent is you want to have a systematic approach in this value adding section of the lapse point, because the last thing you want to do in the active stage is burden your customer with pushy type emails. So when we say active, we want to think add value, right? You want to, if I buy from you, obviously the first thing I typically want is to get a shipping notification to know my product is on the way. The last thing I want to get is, before I even get my shipping notification, is an email from you asking me to buy again for a product I have yet to receive. So again, you want to think active as you're adding value. And ways you can do that is going to be through content, making brand equity. I think it's really, really cool when you buy from a product and they offer you something in addition to that. A good example is I work with a company that sells essential oils, right? Essential oils you can buy from anywhere. You can buy them at Target, you can buy them online and Amazon or whatever. So it's very difficult to actually build brand loyalty for essential oil companies. So what this company actually did that was really powerful and actually allowed me to become a very loyal customer to them is the moment I bought directly through their website, I got a very targeted newsletter from that company. And it basically, in that content, it was like, hey, here are the oils you just bought. Here are the health benefits. Here's ways you can blend them with other oils. Here is some music that we think you may like. Here's like a workout routine or a yoga thing. It was like very much catering to like a lifestyle of somebody that they would assume is like their typical customer. And it made it really cool to buy from them. So I actually look forward to every single time I buy from them to see whatever content they're going to come out with next. So again, it builds that brand equity. So again, active stage, it's early in that customer buying journey. You want to make sure we're adding a lot of value and creating like organic repeat purchasing. Now, in reality, the majority of e-commerce customers are going to buy once and probably kind of fade into this, what we call at-risk stage. So at-risk is going to be, again, 80% of the way through that lapse point. So the action we want to take here is we want to be a little bit more aggressive in pushing our customers to buy again. This is where we want to maybe start offering a coupon code, or maybe change our wording to be a little bit more aggressive, showing cooler products, and doing things to kind of push that agenda. Hey, we want you to buy again, right? We typically say in the at-risk section, if you've done enough in the active stage, you've kind of earned the right to ask them to buy again. And that's what you want to do in the active stage. So lost, the action item here is this is going to be a little bit more reactive, right? This is like, okay, well, these customers maybe are gone. We've lost our opportunity to upsell them. So we want to be reactive in this. We want to basically, do win back campaigns, do things that are a little bit special here. Throw up these people more coupon codes, maybe throw them a 3 products or a sample or something like that if they come back. So it's just a little something extra to kind of win those people back. In Glew, you can actually see data around all 3 of these different statuses, and I'll show that here. So the first one you'll see is you jump into segments and you'll see active customers. So this is going to be the first one. What you'll see is you're going to see the amount of customers in this group, orders, revenue, AOV, LTV, refund, profit, etc. And if you click that drop down where it says here, you can actually go look at your at risk and your lost, right? Probably the one I would jump on is going to be the active at risk first, get those campaigns kind of rolling. And then I would get really creative with that loss group as well. In addition, you can actually scroll down just a little bit further. You're going to see this chart as well. This is going to show you where you are right now as a business with these three statuses. You'll see exactly how many active, at risk, and lost customers you have. Obviously, our goal here is we want this green chart to go up, 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 and up. We want this red donut part here to go smaller and smaller and smaller. So I'm also going to talk a little bit of like a bonus lapse point segment that this is a custom, right? So the three I just talked about, the active, at risk, and loss, these are ones that Glew provides for you. You don't have to build anything your own. Everybody who's on this call can log into their platform and see that information and see exactly what their lapse one is and their customer count in each section. So the loss plus VIP is actually something that we created here at Glew, and all of our reps and CS people highly recommend using. We've found out from customers they have a tremendous value add from using this and doing a direct sync to whatever email system you're using, Mailchimp, Klaviyo, or ListTrack. So it's called loss plus VIP because what we do is we actually use the status as loss, so we know they haven't bought in the lapse point. So right, if it's 100 days, it's been 101 days since they last purchased. But now what we also want to do is, of that loss group, is there any really valuable customers there that we really need to win back, right? These are customers that have shown time and time again that they are really valuable customers. So what we're going to do is I would recommend taking a peek at your LTV is kind of giving you a standard amount for this. But what you're probably going to do is do lifetime orders is greater than or equal to 3. And then you want to do lifetime revenue is like 2.5 times LTV. Start with that, and that's going to give you kind of like a good general idea of what opportunities you have in this loss VIP group. If you jump in here and you have 50 customers, maybe lower your standard a little bit. If you have 25,000, that's probably really good. You guys are doing really good as a business, but maybe raise the standard, right? You kind of want like a sweet spot of numbers. If you do have a ton of lost customers and a lot of like data, maybe you've been in business for 5-10 years, maybe you create like a bronze, silver, gold, platinum group. And again, you're just raising or lowering the lifetime orders and revenue to kind of create those different tiers. But the thing is with this lost VIP group, you want to do something a little bit extra in that win back. Maybe it's, again, like a steeper discount code. Maybe it's like a really personalized letter. It's just something to know that like, hey, I really appreciate that you were really valuable to us at one point. And now we obviously want to win you back. We're doing more in the active stage to keep you there. So it can be really valuable. One, it converts well, and also those customers typically have a heavy weight on your overall business LTV, so it can increase that as they repeat purchase. Cool. All right. So let's move out of lapse point, and we're going to talk about first order cohorts. I'm going to take a quick sip of water. Alrighty. So first order date. So within Glew, you can actually use first order date to create a cohort based on time frame. So why we show this is because a lot of our customers have asked for this because investors are typically looking to see LTV by cohort. So you can do this by year. This is what we're demonstrating here. This would be a 2021 customer segment cohort here. You can see first order date is basically bracketing 2021. And there, a lot of these investors want to see, okay, cool, what was your 2021 LTV, 2020, 2019, 2018, and how are they progressing? You can also do this by monthly cohort as well. If you wanted to see like people who first ordered in January, February, March, April, May, June, and July, and track them over time, maybe you're doing like different testing with emails. You maybe try something for first order people in January, February, March, and you want to see how they're performing. Again, you create those cohorts, and you can track those KPIs, which I showed you earlier, things like LTV, AOV, and orders and customers. So you get all those great KPIs, and you continue to track them and take action. You can also see within Glew, when you create a cohort, when you go into the KPIs, I won't show this because it would show product data, but what I want you to do is scroll all the way to the bottom. It's going to load the customers in that cohort. It's also going to load the products that were purchased by that group of customers. So why is this important? Well, if you do like first order date cohorts by month, you can actually see, is there any trend in what those customers are buying, right? In January, everybody's buying t-shirts. In February, everybody's buying sweatshirts. In March, everybody's buying shorts. Okay, like, maybe we should start, advertising based on what the most often first ordered product is for those specific cohorts, right?
Yeah, I see that a lot for any of our skincare, cosmetics, especially looking at those specific product correlations, but also just tying it back to lapse point, like depending on how often your customers normally should be buying from you, maybe a monthly cohort doesn't make sense. If you're selling skincare that should last them 6 months or 90 days, if they're using it every day, then maybe adjust your cohorts to be more tied back towards your lapse point too. So just wanted to share that before we keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. Great point. Here's a quick example of some of those KPIs you'd see here for those cohorts. You can see customers, LTV, AOV as well. And then the only other thing I was going to mention is you can actually come in here in this section. If you wanted to add a filter for orders is greater than 0, you could also do like orders is greater than 1 if you wanted to see repeat buyers. And you can actually move the date range further up. So like, let's say you created a custom customer segment for 2021 and you moved the date picker in Glew to 2022, like for so far this year, you could actually see how many of those 2021 customers are still active in 2022 and kind of, create different campaigns around like people who are consistently buying year over year. So just like a quick little thing there too. Sweet. All righty, Linz, I'm going to take a break here and let you take over.
Oh, best for last. I've got a lot to cover, so I'll try to go quick. Of course, just know that at the end we'll pause for questions. And if there's something specific that I mention or Christian has mentioned and you don't know how to do it on your own, just please reach out to support@glew.io or your rep, and we'll be sure to show you these. So I'm going to try to fly through. We just got back from Retail X IRCE. If any of you were there, wish we could have met up, but I feel like the biggest trend that we notice is that, channels don't buy things, people do, and you can spend all day long looking at ROAS and clicks and path funnel conversions and what might not be working. But if you take the extra time to think about it from the customer lens, it's going to be a much higher ROI. So that's what I'm going to try to show you here. And I'm starting off with channels because it's a little counterintuitive, but it's channel related data tied back to the customer. So I'll start off with this example that I have showing on the screen. You can do it for first order or last click. So this was one specifically. I had a client that wanted to see you can actually skip to the next slide, Christian. I just did like last click campaign is whatever the campaign was. And this was something that they were interested in for their upcoming Memorial Day sale. They had sent out a specific text campaign to their VIPs, and they wanted to see how that was related, not just to conversions, which they can see multiple places throughout the app, but how many customers physically purchased through that? What products were they buying, as Christian mentioned? What customers specifically were there? And hey, maybe, they just purchased through this text message campaign for Memorial Day, but where did we originally get these customers in from? Like, those are the types of questions that you'll be able to answer all within this one page once you've created that specific cohort or segment. Go to the next one. All right, this is one of my favorites. For anybody that's involved with monitoring the overall like customer health or client support within the business, there are some filters within segments that you might not be aware of. So within Glew, you can segment by things like the number of tickets opened, created, resolved, and adjust your date range for any particular time. I feel like this is great to check, again, the overall health. So I did one just as an example, tickets created greater than or equal to 3. You can name it whatever you'd like, save it, and then that will be there at any point to look at, report on, and you can go to the next one. I think I talk about it. But Christian, I think you had a client too that uses this.
Yeah, it was basically like they wanted to understand, if they provide really good support and people are actually creating tickets and doing things like that, how does that affect repeat purchasing and lifetime value?
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like a unique way to combine one, support, and also how does that affect customer value?
And I feel like with anything in the business, you're trying to provide data to back up your decisions or, not be so subjective about it. And it was funny. You'd think that in the example that I wrote about, like men's clothing brand thought that having, 10 plus customer service agents answering the tickets within Zendesk was going to, turn the business around, and really it had no correlation at all between the LTV of their customers. So they actually scaled back based on that data. And if you go to the next slide, there's two other things that I've noticed people have done quite often is like looking at, okay, well, out of those customers that had an open ticket at this point in time or ever, if you open up your date range, let's see what they're buying. And so this men's clothing company realized that if their first purchase customers were somebody that came in and bought an order that included a pant or multiple items, and one of them was a pant, they were way higher LTV customers. So what they did is they said, okay, let's make this initial pop-up, not just who you are, give me your order number, but also like what product is that specifically related to, or a type of product, etc. And then those got a higher level priority over the rest of their tickets. And their CEO was like, I never want to log into the queue and see any first purchase customers with pants, because we know that those are our money makers long term. And then sometimes it's the opposite, as I mentioned. I think, Christian, you touched on this too. Like some customers might need a little bit more nurturing. So if there's higher ticket, higher touch point customers, just treating those differently than you would those that have maybe never created a ticket or written in, because you're wanting to kind of guide your customers down the path of the norm as much as you can.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm excited for this one.
Yeah. Okay, so customer tags. We have had customer tags as a section within Glew forever, it feels like. And if you're on different e-com carts, it might be groups, tags, but it's the same thing. It's awesome. I feel like people see their data in Glew and they're like, wow, didn't know you could do that. Automatically reporting on things like LTV out of the box. So the setup of the tags actually happens within your e-commerce cart, but then they flow into Glew automatically, and there's tons of KPIs on them. So why I'm mentioning this is because now, if you go to the next slide, we have that as a filter option within the app. Very helpful. It's really simple. You can do is or does not contain, contains, and do groups of customer tags. But then once you have that segment saved, I'm sure you don't want to just look at that one tag. You want to overlap that tag with other KPIs, right? So if you go to the next slide, I've listed out a couple of the popular ones that I see people using this for. So was it during a particular sale event? Like, there might not be a specific discount code. You just know that there was a site-wide sale, prices were different. Those customers could be tagged versus full price. Maybe customers who used a very specific discount code. So if you're in that section that I was just showing, customer tag is how you heard about us Instagram, you could do customer tag contains, whatever the discount code nomenclature is, if it's consistent for like influencer tags. And that's a very quick way to pull that cohort of discount codes, not just one code. How you heard about us surveys, that's really big. Birthdays, that'll make a lot of customer tags, but I have seen people tracking specific birthday cohorts, different unique store locations, wholesale data, employees purchasing on the website. Lots of plugins or apps within the marketplaces have ways to automatically create tags for loyalty programs, different rewards tiers and point statuses, etc. People always ask this one, I feel like. First purchase contained a certain product or product type. And then I've also seen like, are they actively subscribed to a newsletter or not? Are they on a subscription, or are they just a one-time customer? So lots that you can set up. All of that flows into Glew. Therefore, it is an option to overlap now as a customer segment. So I'll pause here. There's a lot, but it is extremely powerful if you know that you can get to that data, even if you don't currently have these tags set up in your e-commerce cart. I encourage you to do so because it'll just strengthen your segments even more.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a massive value add because you can use data that doesn't necessarily have to come through like an API within Glew. You can actually tag it directly in your shopping cart, and then we ingest that data, and then we can actually as Lindsay said, overlap it with all these different customer tags. So this creates just like an unlimited amount of different options and ways to slice and dice your customers. So if you guys think of one we haven't thought of, let us know.
Yeah, and these are not all of them. These are just the most often used or requested, I would say, for sure. So we've already hit on this next slide, but I think it is helpful to know. I've had, people that have used Glew for a few months and been like, oh, no way, I can sync it to there and then I can sync it to Facebook. So I wanted to pull up this slide. Any of the segments, when you first log into Glew, they will say like sync disabled. That doesn't mean anything's broken or wrong. It just means that you haven't pushed enabled for that segment to then be granted the dynamic sync, which happens nightly back and forth between your email platform and Glew. So say you have that really awesome cohort that Christian opened with, lost VIP. As soon as they fall into that lost status, it'll push over at midnight. There's no human interaction once you've enabled that. There's also reasons why customers just do like a one-off export of anything into a CSV. So just know you can export everything that we're showing you as many times as you need to. And then, as I mentioned, a lot of our clients will use this to push onward from the EMS or marketing automation tool back into their paid advertising platforms for any sort of acquisition or retargeting that they might have going on. Now, I wanted to make sure we highlighted this because I feel like I learn something new in the app every day. And after how long we've both worked here, you'd think you'd know it all, but you learn new things. So if you aren't already aware, within these segments, if you think about it, these predefined segments are very specific to different functions or third-party apps that we're connecting. So click as much as you can when you get into customer segments because there's things hidden within it that are very specific. So I just highlighted 4 of them to give you an example, but abandoned cart. Okay, I'm in abandoned cart customers, and I can even, say abandoned cart customer value greater than whatever, come down to the segment and say, what's the average abandoned cart value? Or what's the abandoned cart value just in general? Refund rate, average refund value for customers that have purchased with a discount code, our value shoppers. What's that discount attachment rate? What percentage of our orders are coming in with a discount code? And then the same thing for any of the loyalty programs, participation rate. For Yotpo, we've got like average star rating. There's tons. So if you have any questions on any of the segments themselves, but also what KPIs are available, please reach out because there is quite a bit nested within each of those segments. And that, I'm shocked we even got it close to 32 minutes. Woo! But I would love to schedule any one-on-ones if anybody has questions on these because I just wanted to make sure we got through them all, but is one of my favorite parts of the app. And I feel like if used properly can easily generate a ton of money for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we did. I am impressed too. I expected that to take a little bit longer, but that's great because it leaves some time for questions if anybody has them. It looks like we may have had a technical difficulty that was solved. So cool. Any questions for us today? You have 2 people who have been at Glew a long time. So if you have any questions, I would definitely recommend asking them now. If you think of one later, of course, you can reach out. But was that at least helpful for everybody?
Did we lose anybody? Okay,
I didn't catch the URLs at the end.
Go back.
Yeah, so we'll send out this slide deck with all the URLs, but I can actually just pop them in the chat so everybody has them.
And a good rule of thumb is always like, do we have access to the data? If so, we can do it. So a lot of it is solved now through tags, which is great. It makes it a lot easier for all of our users. How could I filter for churn? That'd be within the subscription section. There's a ton of churn KPIs. I can send you a presentation on it too with the specific ones. I know we've looked at contact. We can double check.
I don't know if it's on the, I don't know about constant contact. I can probably ask our product team about that.
Because the reason why, I'll just tell you like why churn isn't in the customers section up top is that's mainly what's coming from Shopify directly. And a customer could be a one-off D2C. They could be a subscriber as well. They could have been both at the same point. So it's like, how do we properly display them if that's changed within your time frame? But if you go down to the subscription section, there's subscribers and then subscriptions and charges. So subscribers is where you want to be if you want like the equivalent of what we were showing in Glew. That's like subscribers is a person, subscriptions and charges, think of it as like an order. So there's a lot of KPIs, just like we were showing you, but within subscriptions specifically. So
yeah, I'll share my screen just quickly here. So is it is canceled? Is that what it is? And then there's like, there's a few different statuses, I think.
And there could be like next charge date is known or unknown. It really depends. Recharge allows quite a bit of customization. So we see that the different setup vary quite a bit. So, but same functionality.
Yeah, you can see like canceled, inactive, one time, etc. Now, this may be something, Lindsay, you may know that I'm thinking you may be able to, because of recharge is an application off Shopify most of the time, you may be able to tag customers in Shopify as churned and then pull those into Glew and then do different segmentation that way as well.
Yeah, I've seen that often.
So that's like kind of a different way of looking at it, but maybe able to offer the same end result.
Yeah, because I know like with one of my recharge customers, they were one of the first people 4 years ago to show me that they tagged discount code used on a certain plan of their subscription. So I know that churn would be just as easy to tag.
So I think to deal with different types of customers, it's kind of, you know, obviously unique to your business and how you want to handle what you decide is like a different type of customer. But you can look at things kind of, if you think about it, like in quantity and then frame. So you can have people who purchase, you could create a filter for, you know, within the date frame 3 or 4 times or 3 or more times. And then you can do that each month. That's going to show you exactly how many customers are multi-time buyers within that current month. You do the same thing for like a year and breaking that out on the average of like a month. So you can kind of think of it as you can kind of create whatever different view you're looking for within Glew and then take action from there. So I think the first thing would be defining that for your individual store, create the segment in Glew, and then you can kind of take action and track from there. I don't know if you have anything else to add to that, Lindsay.
Yeah, I was trying to think too, with like apparel, it's always tough too. If you're truly omni-channel, you can try your best to force them like, hey, this customer always buys through text message, typically buys every 90 days, and then be like, why haven't they converted? But in an omni-channel space, they're all always going to be working in tandem. Like if you were to pull out your Instagram ad spend, direct might fall through the floor. So I think there's no perfect answer, but one thing I wanted to mention was that people also will use our lapse point as a marketing funnel. Like if you think traditional old school, like if you've set your lapse point to something or you're using all of your marketing based on what Glew's lapse point is telling you, those active people are the ones that you want to be nurturing properly. They've bought into how often you want them to be buying. They're, you know, affluent enough to be able to afford to shop on your site for your apparel every month, but you might be better off focusing your efforts there instead of worrying about why those lost customers aren't buying as often as you want them to. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but if you can figure out who your most profitable customers are, and that's one of the predefined segments in Glew, like your top 10% revenue generating customers should be making up, what do we say, like 30%, 40% of your business. I would check on that KPI specifically before I worry too much about like how often they buy, just because it can vary so much. And there's a lot of factors at play with that as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you're welcome. Great question. Anybody else?
Anybody else?
Maybe that's a good segue that we need to do a recharge or subscriptions Glew U here in the future.
Yeah. I think we did one. You did one, right?
It was a while ago. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
Yeah, I could do that.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Well, we got one more.
Oh.
She said, can you share how to see first product purchased? So there's kind of two different ways to do this. So you can kind of think about within Glew, you're either looking at something through the lens of a customer or you're looking at through the lens of a product. So when it's an order, right? But typically people are more interested in the customer product style data. So for seeing first product purchase, what you can first decide is you can basically segment a customer of when they first ordered, right? So let's say you're interested in seeing how many products or what products people first ordered this year, right? So what you would do is in Glew, you would go in and you'd create first order is on or after whatever date frame you're looking. So let's use the example of 2020. So January 1st, 2022, after that. And then before, you could go ahead and just put December 31st, 2022. That's going to create that bucket. You save it as a segment in Glew. And then what you do is you click segments. And then you click into that specific custom segments. You just click the drop down. And once you're in there, you can actually scroll to the very bottom of the page. And that will show you the products purchased by those individual customers in that group. A second step to that, so that'd be one using Glew that already exists, data that already exists in Glew. The secondary way that you could do it would be actually tagging those individuals in Shopify. I believe you can tag first purchase products in Shopify. They may not have like a visualization of that in Shopify, but that's where Glew would come into play. So once you tag them in Shopify, then you come into Glew. Again, you go to your customers, filters, you're gonna see customer tag in there. And then you can basically select that tag. And then from there, you can actually do things like, add in orders is greater than or equal to 1. So you could see, oh, okay, of the people who first bought my black t-shirt, how many of those people became repeat buyers? And that's when you really start to create a lot of answers to very specific questions. So you'll get this recording. So if you want to fast forward to the end and re-listen to that, you'll get that shortly.
Yeah. And I know we're not really touching on it today, but within Glew Plus, that's very common. Like if it's just something you're trying to answer, I'd say use Glew Pro. It's like the insights beast. But if it's something that you want to consistently be reporting on in the same way, like just show me this and then this for first purchase, second purchase. That's a really great use case for Glew Plus. So
yeah, and if anybody's curious what Glew Plus is, it's just our elevated subscription that allows for custom reporting beyond our standardized platform. All right. I think I'll give like 10 more seconds if you can type fast fingers and get it out, but we'll probably wrap up here. We made it to 40 minutes, so I'm glad we saved a little bit of extra time for questions. Well, great. Well, like I said, we are going to send out this recording with all the slides and a survey. So if you don't mind taking 2 or 3 minutes to fill that out, we would really appreciate it. Let us know how we did, if we can improve. Feedback we appreciate. But thanks so much, everybody who attended live. It was great to have such a large audience, and be on the lookout for the next Glew University update.
All right.
Bye now.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, y'all.